Hello, everybody. This is CJ Wiley. More adventures on the road. Hope you guys got a chance to watch the podcast yesterday with Strong Arm John. I've spent over 3 hours today responding to comments and questions and suggestions, and I love doing that. I answer every question, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or a forum. I just want to make sure to participate. And if anybody ever has any questions, you can always get a hold of me. But a lot of people know Strong Arm John, and they were bringing up things like, why didn't you guys talk about his arm wrestling? Because another thing that John used to do is he'd arm wrestle anybody that wasn't like a stone cold champion. And I think, you had to get the grip right. And I'm not sure what that meant, but I'm sure it's about technique because I've never been much of an arm wrestler, but I've watched him do it a few times, and I've never seen anybody, I don't think, last over 3 seconds. He usually puts them down pretty quick, and I think he's arm wrestled some professionals, but he also said there's a couple guys that he stayed away from. There was some pig farmer down in Georgia, he said, that he really didn't want to mess with. He said this guy was like iron. So, yeah, I mean, from shooting basketball to running those 50-yard dashes, he's done that for 5,000, and gosh, I can't think of all the stuff that we've done. I told him about a dice proposition one time that he ended up making a lot of money with, because the odds of rolling a 7 are 6 to 1. And I mean, that's the true Vegas odds. But the proposition is you tell people that you'll do it in 4 rolls. Even though it's 6 to 1, you'll only take 4. Well, that sounds good at first, but what they don't realize is you get 8 rolls to break even. If they just do it one time, you're in trouble because they should win. But if you do it more than once, like I said, they're giving you 8 rolls to break even. So that means, you should make it in 6, so it carries over too. So you basically get, as you do it more and more, you pick up 2 more every time. So in other words, if you do it 3 times, you should win 1 unit. And if you do it for long enough, they absolutely don't have a chance. I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I was talking to this guy as a professional gambler, and I told him about that proposition. And he wouldn't believe me. He was like, that just doesn't make sense. And no, you're wrong. You got it wrong. I was like, no, I swear it's the nuts. I said, do you want to do it? And when I said that, he said, let me make a phone call. And he called Benny Binion's son, who, Benny Binion owned the Horseshoe in Las Vegas. And this guy knew his son, and he called Benny Binion up, and Junior, I guess, and told him about the proposition. And Benny Binion told him right away. He said, no, that kid's right. He said, and he explained it to him just like I'd tried to explain it to him, except maybe a little better. And of course, he believed him. He wouldn't believe me. But, that's the thing about telling people the truth, especially nowadays. They just won't believe you. And that was one of my keys to hustling when John wasn't around, is I just would tell him how great I was. I'm really good. Is anybody as good as me? Nobody can beat me. You can't beat me. Your friends can't beat me. Your friends don't even know anybody that can beat me. And if I said that long enough, and of course I would say it like in a good humored way, but man, it would just make people want to play. But if I went in there and said, oh, I haven't been playing, and I don't play that good, and I need weight from you, and all that, see, they're not going to believe that either. So it's funny, people are wired to not believe the truth. A friend of mine that was another professional gambler said people would rather climb a tree to hear a lie than stand on the ground to hear the truth. And boy, isn't that That is the truth. And John, again, is just a master. He's just got that gift of gab, like he said several times. And, you know, I I just marveled at him, when I was young, and it was just such a perfect combination because he would get the games for me, and I would win. And through that situation, and he's also really smart when it comes to the actual game of pool too. So I picked up things, and it was a combination of a lot of different guys that I traveled with, where I came up with that touch of inside. And what that is I'm just cueing the ball to the inside. It was funny, a friend of mine had Skylar Woodward in Dallas, and he took 5 pictures of him going down to the exact center of the ball on 5 different shots. Well, he took pictures of all 5 of those shots, and after it was over, he showed Skylar that he was going down each time slightly to the inside. See, professional players just naturally do that, and I don't think many of them actually know it, but I mean, if you just think about it, the human mind and body really isn't made to play pool. So you need a margin of error, and it's just extremely difficult to go down to the exact center of the ball. But if you favor one side, whether it's inside or outside, you can pretty much do that every time. So it gives you more margin of error. And you can favor a side of the pocket. I think most of the players, whether they're using a touch of inside or a touch of outside, are favoring the inside of the pocket and then throwing it into the center. So, if it doesn't throw, you hit the inside. If it throws like you want to, it goes to the center. And if it's too much, it goes to the outside. It's just the same thing like if you play golf. If you're trying to draw the ball, you don't aim at the center. Excuse me. You aim at the right side of the fairway, and then you hit it. If it doesn't draw, it hits the right side of the fairway. If it goes like you're intending, it goes to the center. And if it goes too much, you still got a bailout area on the left side. Same with the green. I studied golf with Hank Haney when he was first working with Tiger Woods, and he explained that to me, and we cross-referenced pool to golf, and that's the reason he took such an interest in working with me. Is he wanted to know more about the mental game, which that's what he put me in his book about, is the mental game. He passed some stuff that I showed him or told him on to Tiger Woods, and it helped him actually win the British Open. If you ever get a chance, that book is really good. It's called The Big Miss, and Johnny Archer read it. I remember we were in London and at the Moscone Cup, and we were up late one night, and Johnny was like, "Man, CJ, I always wanted to tell you." He says, I read this book. Like, the only book I read cover to cover was Hank Haney's book, The Big Miss. And he said, how surprised I was when I turned the page and there's a story about a pool player, and it was you? I said, "Yeah, Johnny." I said, it was an honor. And so, Johnny's a really good golfer, and we've played lots of times. There's just a real significant similarity between golf and pool at the highest level. You're playing zones, and it's the same thing in playing position. The cue ball appears to go exactly where you want it, like if you're watching a champion player, but actually we're playing zones, and we're always playing an area at least a foot, basically a diamond length, is how big our zone is. And then, if there's more trouble on one end of the zone than the other, then we'll move that zone slightly, or we'll, favor one side of the zone or the other. And so the result is the cue ball appears to be going where you want it to. And, on some shots, you do have to get it in a real precise place. But it's funny, if you have to do that, if your life was depending on getting the cue ball in an exact place, like the size of a quarter, I mean, it's very difficult for anybody. So, but if you're playing the game the right way and you're playing the zones correctly, it takes the pressure off, because you can be off a little bit, and it helps you actually be even more precise than if you were trying to be precise. But anyway, I think from the response, John and I will probably do another podcast before too long. We're in the same town right now. He just flew to Florida his daughter's playing a big softball game. I think she's got like 4 of them. They're staying for a week. So he'll be back in a week. And we're going to do some other stuff together. And we may, if, if the timing's right, we'll do another one. We could do 10 of them in a row pretty easy, because we were on the road a lot of years together. And like I said, he would play softball in the summer, and then we'd play pool in the winter. Which that's generally when the big gambling was anyway, was in the winter months. It's always better if they're trapped inside. I've won a lot of money when it's snowing. I always like going into place and, not snowing hard, but when that snow starts coming down and people are pretty much going to be trapped inside because it's cold and snowy, it's just perfect pool season. So, I'm down. We haven't seen any snow here in Lafayette, but, I'm from northern Missouri, and John is actually from, was it Bloomington, Illinois? No, Bloomington? No, maybe he's Decatur, Illinois. And then he lived in Bloomington, Indiana, and now he's in Indianapolis. I think that's how it went. But there was a lot of action over around Decatur and Peoria, and, like I said, I met him in Quincy, Illinois. So we used to take a lot of trips around that area, down to Evansville, Indiana. There's a guy named Bobby Legs down there that played really good. He ran like 17 racks in a row on a bar table. He was a wicked player. He wouldn't play me for some reason. I went down there to try to play him, and I got knocked somehow. And a lot of those those old time gamblers that would play long sessions wouldn't play me because they'd find out that I didn't really hit my best stride or best gear till after about 20 hours. And then I could maintain it for a solid 10. So I could play 30 hours at a really high level. And back then, that's what you had to be prepared to do. Because a lot of times I would play somebody and beat them after 8 to 10 hours, and then somebody else would want to play thinking that they could wear me out because they were fresh, and I'd have to wear them out too. And sometimes I'd play a third guy. And back then, you just couldn't quit winner. I mean, you could quit even, but it was even frowned on, Generally, we played till somebody won, and I always had the mindset I just had to beat them till they couldn't beg, borrow, or steal any more money. But anyway, it was great talking with John yesterday because I really haven't talked with him in quite a while, and we didn't rehearse it. Like I didn't write down any questions, or I didn't rehearse it at all. And neither did he. We didn't, he asked me a couple questions like, is there anything, basically what he said, is there anything you don't want me to talk about? And I was like, no, you got the green light, you can talk about whatever. It was kind of funny, talking with him about his magnetism for women, and his wife was in there, and after it was over, we were laughing about it. And I told her, I said, man, if I were you, I'd want to know that my man was a woman magnet because he picked me. You don't want to be with a guy that can't get any other women. That's no good, because that's the difference between men and women. Is women want guys that attract lots of women, but they do want them for themselves. But they're real competitive, and basically they'll just tell them the other girls have herpes or something. So. Just kidding. But anyway, who do we got here? Tim Hogan. Hi, buddy. What you up to? Bobby D. Turk. Man, Bobby, how's your game? I remember working with you a few times, and you started hitting different levels, and I know you've won some tournaments where you played perfect. David Thornton, I worked with you. The military man. I always need lots of friends like you. Anyway, no, I just wanted to touch base and appreciate you, your support in these podcasts. I'm still, don't have it quite down like I want it. I'm probably going to get a microphone, and, the sound isn't quite right. So we're going to tweak that. The people I'm working with here in Lafayette are are real professionals. I mean, wait till you see that video we just did. As soon as we're ready to start releasing that game, we're going to put out a promo video, and that one is really good. We worked hard on it, and the logo. I mean, we've it's taken it's been almost 2 months doing the logo. I mean, that's how meticulous we are. Is because we're not in any big hurry, and there's some legal partnership deals we're having to get just right, and we're having to file some things. It just takes time. So anyway, when we do release it, we're going to be promoting it a lot, and we're going to have some real opportunities for people to play it and compete with us, and get a chance to play on some big streaming matches. But we're gearing this to put on TV. I mean, streaming video is good for support, but I think the engine that drives the train needs to be a major TV station. So I know how to structure those TV deals. I mean, we could do ESPN anytime we want. It's just a matter of paying for it. But there's a certain deal that I used to do that they will go for. It's a barter deal where they give us the TV time, and we split the commercial inventory, and we pay for the production costs. And that's another thing that we're working on is we got these AI computer programmed cameras that have face recognition. So we can program it to a certain face of one of the players, and this camera will follow them around. So we're going to get really good shots of the table, the actual shot itself from 2 or 3 different angles. And then the cameras will be following both players all the time. So, that's when you're watching something live, that's what you're doing. You're watching the shot, watching the player's reaction, and then glancing over to see, his opponent's reaction a lot of times, especially if he makes a really good shot. I always kind of look over to see if there's any reaction from the opponent, and generally the higher caliber of player, the less reaction you're going to see. I always tried to stay centered and not give my opponent any emotion, and that's because I didn't feel it. I mean, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it, but I got it down to where I actually never did feel any emotion. If I didn't make a ball, it didn't feel any different than when I made the ball. I just sat down and relinquished the table to my opponent. And a lot of times I would just follow the cue ball, and just really concentrate on the cue ball, not really watch my opponent, but just focus on the cue ball because, that's what you need the connection to. Like when you're playing, you want to be connected to that cue ball. And that's one of my secrets is, I connect to both the balls the same way every time before I actually create the angle. And then I triangulate the angle like I've described before. So I use 2 lines, not just one. I don't use the shot line. I use a center to center or center to edge alignment, and then I create the shot line, which is like a triangulation. Pete Sellers, what's up? Man, what is that? North Carolina? Are you on North Carolina or South Carolina? I think you're close. Anyway. I guess that's it. If anybody has any requests about people you'd like to see me do a podcast with, let me know. Go to my YouTube channel and make a comment, and let me know who you'd like to watch, or if there's any particular subject matter that you'd like me to go over. I mean, I can pretty much do anything, and if I don't know a certain subject or topic of the game, I'll get somebody that does, and we'll just feature them. It's just a matter of entertainment and learning. I mean, this game, once you got a solid foundation built, you can improve for years and years to come. It doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, I trained a guy. What did he say? He's 65, and he's improved a lot. He said in the last 3 or 4 months since we worked together. So anyway, I guess everybody's in Round Rock at that tournament. I just don't have the passion right now to compete. I played in those 2 tournaments just because I was over here close, but I wasn't really into it. It's hard for me. I'm kind of like John said, OCD, where when I focus on something, I give it like 100%, and almost become obsessed with it until I get it down perfect. I mean, that's what I've got a lot of things I study, and I study it until I absolutely know every single detail about it. And, and then, let the chips fall where they may. Anyway, I guess that's about it. Anything else? Yeah, North Carolina, South Carolina line. That's what I thought. I got a pretty good memory, but sometimes, man, I've given so many thousands of lessons in the last few years. Sometimes things run together. But yeah, if you have anything that you'd like to see, I got requests for Doug Smith. I don't know where Doug is. He was another one that John and I traveled with, and he's a funny character. So maybe I can get him to do a podcast. We'll see. But anyway, until next time, make sure you make a comment on my YouTube channel. It's if you don't have it, just go to YouTube and search CJ Wiley. I've got two of them, but it's the one that has the podcast with Strong Arm John at the top. It's got a lot of instructional stuff on there too. I think I took off quite a bit because I transferred some of it over to cjwiley.com, masteringpocketbilliards.com, and definitely got a lot of really good stuff there. I got four 90-minute DVDs that I made, and then a lot of little specific topic videos that are shorter. Anyway, till next time, this